Hey y'all, hope you're doing good. So I am excited to bring the message to you all, but you'll have to forgive my red nose. I am sick. Pretty sure I've got the flu. And I made the mistake of buying Kleenex brand lotion tissues and thinking that they were what I've always had in the past. And turns out they're no different than regular tissues. So just a heads up, if you if you get really sick and you need a lot of tissues, I highly recommend Puffs brand lotion tissues. I'm just saying, world of difference as you can see. So I finally found some and picked them up at the store. But that's what I've been dealing with, and I'm hoping that me and my daughter are just about out of it and over it now. So I'm on the tail end of it. I'm still sick, but hopefully, I'm very positive. I'm always speaking into the near future. You know what I hope for, and it's automatic for me. Just as I just spoke with you all, I'll just say, I'm already on the tail end of it or coming out of it, when the truth is, I've had a rough day today. And I had an even rougher day yesterday. But I think that your mindset definitely plays a big part in your healing. That's just me. I think it does. I think there's a very intricate and intimate correlation or connection between our body and our mind. So I always like to speak into the positive, and I think that it makes a difference, right? So anyway, that's what I've been dealing with. And then I recently went through my storage shed and pulled out a bunch of things, and I found my music folder from years ago. I think from '07, and that was when I was taking piano lessons. And I was not really advanced by the time I quit my lessons. I had to quit them because of my work schedule, but I was doing pretty good, and I was far enough along that I had been invited to help teach alongside this piano teacher. And so I really love it, and I'm super excited. I found my music. I've been missing it for several years now, ever since I moved a few years back, and so hopefully I can brush up on it and get familiar with it again, and then share some with you guys. So we'll see, and that'll be fun. But and then the other thing I've been doing is painting. I've got several watercolor pads. I'm trying to learn watercolor. My past is mostly in acrylic paint and drawing and pen and ink, things like that. But I'm just having fun with it. I've got another, this is just a random one I did, just a night sky, with stars. And watercolors are just a lot of fun. And then I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, of people designing Christmas cards. And if you've never done it, that's something that's really fun to exchange homemade or handmade, rather, cards and just share your mail in that way. So I've been practicing my lettering, my artistic lettering, and it's all over the place. But don't be like I used to be. I'm saying all this to say this. You're going to have, if you want to get into any kind of creativity whatsoever, painting or whatever it is, you're going to be buying your supplies. If you have to practice, if it's not something you're super familiar with, don't wind up just never using it because you're trying to save your good supplies for when you've already practiced. Because then it's like you're not even working with the right materials. You're over here practicing on notebook paper, which is not going to give you the same results. And so my point is, don't be afraid to practice on the good stuff or with the good stuff. But yeah, that's my background too. My first degree was in graphic design, so I'm really interested in lettering and fonts and things like that. So I'm just playing around with that too. But so Christmas is on my mind. The holidays is on my mind. And one thing I found in my storage is an old Christmas pillow. And I don't remember, honestly, if I bought it or if it's my grandmother's. But it says good tidings, good tidings. And, tidings is about a message. It's about news. And so a message or news or, any kind of word can be positive or negative, which is why I've got my spotlight on me again. Hang on. It's much better. much better. But this is why, at the holidays we say good tidings, like in the song, good tidings we bring, right? And so, if you look this up in Latin, just for fun, I always look up words now for fun. Tidings is from the word nunti, N-U-N-T-I, or nunti, meaning to bring word of, okay? Again, so that's why the good part of good tidings is important, good news. It's about good news. And so, because that's what the Christmas holiday is about, right? Is the Christian celebration, the birth of Christ, which is the good news. All right, so my question to you is this. How much of the news is good? I would say not even very little. I would say none. They may have one good story at the end, right? And this is from years ago when I used to watch it. I don't watch it anymore. I haven't watched it many years because I found out that I can find out what I need to know through the people I know and other outlets. And so the whole reason I bring this up is this. When you go through a time in your life where you have been deceived and likely therefore controlled, and you've kind of unknowingly, unintentionally relinquished your power, okay? You've become like a puppet. Then what can happen is all your defenses fade away, okay? Including, your discernment and being on point and filtering what you're taking in with your eyes, with your ears. It's sort of like you're just laying down, any kind of autonomy and authority you have over your life in your efforts to please a person that oftentimes never seems to be pleased, or maybe temporarily, but it's wavering and you can't figure out like what's the problem. And then later you can find out a lot of times with these people who are very much entrenched in deceit, you can find out that their wavering moods had nothing to do with you. It had a lot to do with other people in their life that you didn't know anything about, right? But what happens is we wind up living passively. And, if you think about habits can be created unintentionally. And I think they usually are created unintentionally. And we don't identify them as such. We're just living our life. And so what can happen is when you're out of a relationship or a group or a friendship or a family, whatever it is, where you wound up relinquishing and giving up your self-authority and your active and intentional involvement over your own life, then you carry that same approach to life even after you're out of that situation. And y'all excuse my voice, you're carrying that on. And so the way I see that is it's like you're living passively. And that's not good. And I've had to catch this in my own life and realize that, I'll question things. I'll be like, why did I wake up this morning in a good mood and then now I'm just in a really just depressed state, or I'm anxious, or what's going on? And it'll just be subtle things like the music on the radio, or even if you don't watch a full movie, if you just see a preview of a movie, or even the artwork, on the front cover of a movie when you're scrolling like Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, These images sometimes are shocking, things like that. So all of this stuff that we are exposed to, we have normalized, and we don't realize that they all have a cumulative effect. And even individually, singular, not even, plural for sure, they add up. But just one single song or image can register in another part of your psyche, not your conscious awareness, but it can sit back there, and if it's laden with some bad energy, it's going to affect you. This is what I have come to understand. And it's strange because you can look back on media throughout the years, throughout history, and you realize that things have gotten way more graphic and edgy and just today than they would have been back then. And it's just kind of normalized, and it's just more and more things are deemed totally fine nowadays, when back then they would have been completely rejected for mainstream. So you have to, like in all these stories, these old stories, you have to become your own parent in that way, even though you're an adult, and you have to step into this authoritative role with what you're taking in. So this passivity, it's a habit from leaving this kind of relationship where you were trying so hard, you were people pleasing yourself to death. This person was never happy. Well, you've, in your efforts, you're carrying this on forward now, see? And so it's just like I said, it's passivity. It's living in a very passive way. But I think they say it takes like 21 days to build a habit, or for it to be like solid, like set in. I don't know how long it takes I feel like it takes longer than that to break a habit. But the point is, it doesn't take very long even to make a habit. And a lot of times we're not even conscious of them. But I would just take a look if you're into journaling or vlogging for yourself, for a personal diary or whatever, as part of your healing and your growth practice. Maybe just start to, evaluate yourself and ask, like, what are the habits that I seem to have developed over the last few years that I didn't have like 15 years ago or whatever. And maybe you can identify, habits that are not fruitful for you, that are even working against you, that have formed and you weren't even aware of them. But for me, I think that's a big thing, and I think that's probably is it applicable to a lot of us who have been in a controlling situation, with family or friends or marriage or whatever. It's just learning to be passive. And so, we don't need to forget the lessons that we've learned, but we need to, instead of putting so much focus out here, and trying to learn to identify, danger outside in the world. That's important, but I think that at least equally, if not more, we need to put some focus on ourselves and evaluate ourselves and try to move on as we grow in an improved manner. It's an opportunity for improvement and self-growth, right? So, and it does require breaking habits. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about is our baseline. Identifying what a healthy baseline is for just your day-to-day, the way you live, okay? Because I think that our baseline, and this encompasses a lot, it's just a generic term to encompass a lot, but our baseline is really what became affected, okay, in a controlling situation. And if you want to generalize, you might say that your baseline became over or ultra tolerant. Okay, you're just under a lot of heavy expectations and pressure and things like that. But you persevered because that's who you are. You know what I mean? You just and that's what love does. That's what love does. Not just romantic love, but even in a friendship or family, love perseveres. It's in the Bible. It talks about all the qualities, and one is patience. You know, so that's just part of you embodying love, which is beautiful, but that can be exploited, right? So as we know, but your baseline becomes very, very ultra tolerant. Okay, and so that's what needs to be readjusted. So we're going to talk about. I've written down 4 things that we can focus on to readjust our baseline. The first thing is time. Okay, we need to be cognizant of our time. And just like, for example, right now I'm sick. You know, we all get sick. And, you know, it's always been a family tradition, and I still carry it on for myself, but I always make myself chicken soup. I wish I could get my daughter to eat it. She won't eat it, but my mom made that for me growing up, and she still does now. It's very sweet, but I'll do it for myself too. I'll make chicken soup for myself and biscuits. I don't know if it's a southern thing or what. I'd love to hear if you want to share and comment. But and so that kind of stuff, homemade remedies, you know, homemade herbal teas and soups and things like this when you're ill. It takes time. It takes time. And if you think about it, that's something that really suffered probably for a while in your life was you, but you didn't realize it. Because what is it they say? Love is blind. It's true. And so you're blind to these things that are suffering, you know, in your life. And so you need time to be able to sleep enough, to be able to think. You have to sleep enough to be able to think clearly, but also you need actual time to just be by yourself and think too and process stuff. And that's something, if someone's hiding something and they're wanting to keep you, you know, in a certain role in their life, and they don't want you to put 2 and 2 together and put the puzzle pieces together and figure out, you know, what they're doing, then they're likely going to keep you very busy and not want you to have time to yourself to think and process, you know, and figure stuff out. But time, you need to reclaim your time. Reclaim your time and don't feel guilty about it, okay? Number 2, this is what I wrote in my notes. Consider your spirit as housed in a protective fortress. Okay, this is your armor. And what you're going to do is you're going to watch very carefully what you allow into those 4 walls. I like to visualize. I'm just a visual person, right? So just consider you have these borders around you, your boundaries. And it's kind of like, what does that mean? You know, when you visualize, it's not so abstract. It's just a step away from being abstract for me when you visualize. And then when you consider, you know, like an actual fortress or castle and guards outside, you know, it's kind of like when somebody comes up to that castle, the guards are going to be like, what's your business here? That's kind of how we need to approach everything that we allow into our mind. And into our time, into our mind, into our heart for sure. I mean, that means even what you're taking in when you're scrolling online with your eyes, the images, what you take into your ears, the music you hear. You know, something that bothers me nowadays is there will be a really good song, good quote unquote song, and it'll have a great message, but the particular chord or key or note will be unsettling to my spirit. The actual tune to the song, it's like it doesn't match. That's something, if you want to have fun, to just kind of research and do a deep dive on, okay? Just notice all the music nowadays, how that's kind of a mismatch. And to me, that's just a subtle way for the devil, if you want to speak spiritually, it's a subtle way for the devil to just weasel his way into our lives in one way or another. See, like, well, I'll just put some good words out there, but let's just really irritate their spirit with these funny chords and stuff. So The point is, this is the kind of stuff really and truly that can affect you. Even fragrances, certain fragrances, and some of those are the chemicals are not good to breathe in. I just encourage you to look into all that too. But all this stuff can affect you, okay? Just consider yourself a fortress from now on, and put those guards out there, But you're the guards too. You're all the roles, like in the family system psychology mindset, right? The third thing is you're going to find balance again in what's healthy for you, and here's what I mean. This is kind of an all-encompassing area again. This is going to mean reframing a lot of different things, such as, what how much of a clean house is important to me. We're talking about balance, as opposed to time reading a book or in my hammock or with my family or playing with my kids. It's kind of like you may have been living by another person's expectations for so long that you need to figure out what are yours again, so that you can fully be truly in alignment with yourself, your own heart and mind. So find balance in all areas of your life, and remember, what you spend your time on over here, it means like a yes over here is also a no over here. A yes always comes with a no. They come together. What you're spending time here, you're giving up over here. So just take a look at that and find your balance in all these different areas in your life, okay? The fourth thing is, I would recommend cutting back on any established commitments, because this is hard, because if you're a dedicated person and you just have that as a part of your character, this can be hard. But I think it's really, really necessary to get all this stuff back in balance and in order again, okay? Because remember, the goal here is to establish your baseline, not somebody else's expectations of how you should live your life and what your baseline should be, but your baseline, okay? And this means that you have to spend time alone to be able to allow your natural, unique baseline to surface. It's sort of like, it's not something you can force. It has to be allowed to sort of like rise up and come to the surface in the right atmosphere. Okay, it's kind of like, there's a quote, I think it might be from a movie, I'm not sure. It's like, if you build it, they will come. But we're not talking about a structure here. We're talking about an environment or an atmosphere. Just setting everything just right. And that requires a lot of times cutting back on social engagements and particular commitments. And I feel I'm of the mindset that if somebody doesn't understand, then they're not your people. That's just how I feel now. I mean, of course, you got to pay your bills and you got to, your work and stuff like that. And that's, it's all within reason. But in general, the things that where you can, the areas where you can, I think is really important. So, the point is to create a welcoming, conducive environment where what is right for you can surface, and it's not where someone else's directives take the precedence, right? And let me just close by saying this. This one's going to be a little bit shorter, hopefully. I'm at 23 minutes now, but I think this is really important too, to have time alone to figure yourself out and your baseline and how everything is right for you before you are in a really big committed relationship. This is just one area where you can easily observe someone who who isn't true to themselves, someone who typically this is observable in wolves in sheep's clothing, right? People that are just exploiting others. But they'll just go from one person to another, to another, to another, and they'll just kind of morph and change to suit so that they can make sure that they have this person hooked, and then they can, exploit this person. So a healthy, good relationship, I feel like, is between two people who have taken the time to really know themselves. And I understand that when people commit to one another when they're young, that's a little different. With young people getting into relationships, I think that's where the commitment part is. Well, commitment's always important, but especially I think when people are young, before they really know who they are. And the point is that you grow together. I think it's supposed to be that you grow together and you're committed, along that journey together. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And unfortunately seems very rare nowadays that a commitment like that lasts. But if you, I'm not clearly talking about that. I'm talking about if you just have come out of a situation, right? But taking the time to get readjusted, rebalanced, and especially to find your own baseline again, so crucial. Not only just for yourself and your well-being, but for your family too. They'll benefit from that. And also any future friendships or relationship. So that's my message today. I hope that it has been enjoyable. I hope that it's been insightful. I hope it got the wheels turning. I thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I don't really want to end it. I feel like I have so much more to say. I've brought in all my plants. I don't even know what this one is. But it's I'll drop a picture maybe in at the end, but it's kind of, I'll start to say bless its heart, but it's all droopy. I didn't bring it in time for the freezing temperatures outside. I actually brought it in from the outside to it was on my carport. Let me say that. This one was on my carport, and I thought, well, okay, it's covered, it should be okay, but it's not. So I brought it in the house, and I hope it's not too late. I hope I've saved it. And the good news is I found an old aloe plant in the backyard that I thought had died a long time ago, and it was coming back. So I'm excited about that. But it's funny because when you're a kid, you think all this kind of stuff like bird watching and taking care of plants and stuff like that is just so boring. Like when you're looking at your grandparents and your parents and stuff, it's like, boring stuff. But then you eventually get there, with your your life, and I would say age, but it's just different stages of life, and everybody gets there at different times. But I get it now. I get it. This kind of stuff can bring you a lot of peace too. So just choose your time wisely. And most of all, I think if I had to pick one of those things we were talking about, it's just to really guard what you take in. And if you just really start paying attention to your peace, how peace feels in your body, if you start really tuning into that, you'll catch just, moments where that gets affected. It's like a rock thrown into your own personal pond, or lake, and it's the ripples. You'll feel that, and then you'll start to, think. It'll be a habit for you, a new habit, good habit, to just start thinking like, what just happened? Was it the song I just listened to? Why is that? And then you can consciously just tune in and catch something that's off with something that you're being exposed to, that you're taking inside of your fortress. So, and then from there you can start making better decisions, with your borders and your boundaries, things like that. So again, I hope you enjoy the message. Thank you so much for coming along to hear it. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I will see you again very soon.